And we are pleased to welcome to the studio Pierre Beaudoin. He is the president and CEO of Bombardier Incorporated, and we're happy to welcome you to our studios.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
I know that Bombardier has been around as a company for about 70 years, but I gather you just celebrated your 20th anniversary here in the province of Ontario. So tell us, what brought you here to this province in the first place?
Well, when we came, we had two significant opportunities. An aerospace company that the government and Boeing at that time wanted to sell, the Avalon, and UTDC, also an opportunity to invest in infrastructure. It was a time where the economy wasn't going so well, but we thought there was great opportunities here.
And just so people remember, you guys are you're the original Skidoo company, right? That's what you made.
That's right. My grandfather invented snowmobile, in fact.
And now you're into planes and trains, and not yet automobiles, but planes and trains.
Planes and trains, and we're world leader in our categories, so it's exciting.
You got a plant in Downsview, you're in Thunder Bay, you're in Kingston. What do you make in all those places?
And in North Bay also.
And North Bay.
Where we make the water bomber in North Bay.
Oh, yes.
So if I start by Thunder Bay, we make the rocket, the subway for Toronto. We make the GO train. This is the bi-level train that you see in Toronto also. We also make products for other types of mass transit, contribute in the contracts of Bombardier. We have about 1,200 employees. In fact, we're now 1,300 in Thunder Bay. We're growing. And then we in Kingston, it's a center of excellence for monorail, for automated transit system. So we're doing a monorail right now for Brazil. We're doing a monorail for Saudi Arabia. So it's a center of expertise where we design, we test, and manufacture the prototypes, which are then made where we've sold the product. And if I look at Downsview, we make the Q400, which is our turboprop, which now will be operated by all Canadian airlines, all major Canadian airlines, Air Canada, Porter, and soon WestJet.
Seats how many?
Pardon?
How many seats in that?
That's a 70-passenger aircraft.
70, okay.
And we make our global family of business jet, which is our biggest and longer range business jet here in Toronto, the Global 5000 and 6000. And soon we'll be making the two new Global, the 7000 and 8000. So very busy in Ontario with about 6,000 employees.
You're just a small little company, right? What were your revenues last year?
20 billion US and with about 70,000 employees.
20 billion US.
Right.
Small little private family business, right?
Right, public company.
Public company.
With a large investment from the family.
I kid. Well, Premier McGuinty was in Thunder Bay last weekend to announce that your company is going to buy, or going to get rather, the contract for 60 new GO train cars, which I'm sure you're very happy about. I'm going to remind you, however, something you don't need reminding of. You lost a $2 billion deal to provide trains for London's Thameslink line a year ago, and I'm wondering, a lot of good news with your company, but how devastating was the loss of that potential contract?
Well, first of all, we've won quite a bit of contracts last year. Our book-to-bill was above 1, so more sales than deliveries. Thameslink was disappointing because we're the only manufacturer in the UK with the expertise of engineering, assembling train, designing new product, and we thought we were well positioned. Since that time, we've won 2 other contracts in the UK, and now there's a big one coming up called Crossrail, and we intend to win this one.
Who's the competition for that one?
Well, the typical competitors we would have would be Siemens, a German company, Alstom, the French, and typically you'll see maybe a Japanese or a Spanish also as a competitor.
How much does it cost to put together a bid for something like that?
Well, it's quite involving. You'd have hundreds of engineers that work on a bid like this because you want to make sure that you put your right price forward, because after that you have to build it and of course make a return. So you'll spend several millions at doing that.
Several $1 million.
Yes.
Which is not good if you lose it, right?
Well, it's part of the trade. You win some, you lose some, but we've done quite well.
Do you think, from your experience on bidding on these projects, that governments are still interested in rail projects around the world enough?
Oh, definitely. We think that there's going to be more investment in infrastructure. The cities are growing. There's a lot of traffic. We need to move people around the cities. If you look at Toronto here, there's a big issue of traffic. There's a plan to look how we can, with the government, we can reinvent the infrastructure to have better flow of traffic in this city, but cities across the world. And since we're the world leader in rail transportation, I think that's a great opportunity for us.
We're in an age of austerity now, though, and governments are, they're cutting back on everything, including capital projects. Does that concern you?
Well, what we've seen so far, if we take Europe as an example, while we're in age of austerity, at the same time, if we want prosperity in the economy, it's felt that investment in infrastructure are a good investment, and we haven't seen a slowdown in Europe where there have been some very difficult budget. And in North America, for example, we've just been chosen for San Francisco, a very big contract, about $1 billion, and New York City, another big contract for about $500 million. So I think there's a lot of opportunities.
What's the $500 million New York contract for?
Subway again.
Subway
Bombardier has been a supplier of Subway in New York for about half of the fleet. This was a competition against Kawasaki and Alstom, and Bombardier won.
I don't have to tell you that this province of Ontario has really been kicked in the teeth over the last decade as it relates to the manufacturing industry, manufacturing sector rather, 300,000 jobs lost over the last decade. How has that affected your company?
Well, for us, we've seen growth in Ontario in the last 20 years, whether it's mass transit, where we have innovated and invested in cutting-edge technology, or in the airplane business, where we have the most modern platform in the industry, where we lead in private aircraft and regional aircraft. So for us, we've done very well in Ontario. We think, though, that to stay ahead, you really need to invest a lot in R&D, and that's what we're doing.
The last few months, there's been a heck of a debate across the country on whether or not this country has got Dutch disease, whether or not the natural resources of the West are inflating the value of the Canadian dollar, which is, in effect, according to Premier McGuinty anyway, hurting some of our manufacturing sector here in the province of Ontario, and Thomas Mulcair has also weighed in on this as well, the NDP leader. Where are you on this debate?
Well, I think, we're fortunate in Canada to have great resources that create wealth in our country. We benefit from that. A lot of suppliers benefit from that. For example, our airplanes offer transport to the employees of Suncor when they have to go to the oil field to work every week. So it's been good for Bombardier in terms of creating opportunities. And I think that's how we should look at it. If we have a wealthy country with success, that's good for all of us.
A wealthy country with success, but $1 at 75 cents would be better for you, wouldn't it?
Well, as a manufacturer, and if we export, of course, a currency that is weaker is better. But in the end, we're in a global market, and currencies move in different areas of the world, and we need to make sure that we have the right balance. So that's why we talk today of a global value chain. We try to be local when we get a contract, for example, in Saudi Arabia, to do some assembly there, but we can still create jobs in Ontario with our Kingston facility at designing the product. So I think currency, it's one thing, but we have to realize that global companies have to have different installation globally to be competitive.
Mm-hmm. But would you prefer the dollar or lower?
Well, in the short term, it depends what are the compromise. I think as a manufacturer and an exporter, sure, you create, you would have more profits, but at the same time, does that mean that we have less success economically? Because we have to understand Canada is doing well from a currency perspective today because we've managed our economy well, and we're doing much better than other countries. So I think we have to be careful just to single out the currency.
Okay, let me single out something else, and that's corporate tax rates.
Yes.
They say that corporations are sitting on a lot of cash these days, and they're not spending that cash as much on hiring people for a whole bunch of reasons. We don't need to go into them here. They've been well enumerated. A couple of parties in this country want to see the corporate tax rate go up a couple of points at least, thinking that it would do no harm to you guys, you could afford it, and we'd actually be able to reduce some deficit, maybe put some more people back to work, save social programs right now that might be in some jeopardy. Could your business stand to pay a couple of points more in corporate tax and still be competitive?
Well, in our case, we invest a lot in research and development. This year, $2 billion. So when you say that we sit on cash as manufacturer, that's not the case at Bombardier. And investing in R&D, really, it's the innovation and makes us more productive, and then we're successful. So in the end, I think it's a question of choice, but to create an environment where enterprise can be successful, I think that's what it's all about. And in Canada, if you invest in R&D, you also get some credits that permit you to continue to invest. So I think that's how we look at it at Bombardier.
No, I hear you, but if they knock the corporate tax up a couple of points, could you folks still be competitive at what you do?
like I said, in our case, we invest so much in R&D that we benefit from lower corporate tax.
So I guess the answer is no. You'd rather we're where it is.
I'd rather continue to invest and grow our business, yes.
Can we afford to cut the corporate tax even more?
Well, you know, I don't look at corporate tax for one single country. I look at overall how we do. So I don't want to say Canada is necessarily this situation compared to another. I want to look at our global value chain in terms of tax.
Okay. Let's talk about the so-called C-Series. You've invested, what, $3 billion bringing this to market?
Yes.
What's the demand like for the plane so far?
It's as good as what we had planned. We have 138 orders. We're happy with that. That gives us the first 2.5 years of production. You got to remember, we're still 2 years away from the first delivery, so we'll have more before the first delivery. But already I have 2.5 years of production in front of me. So I think we're in a good position. The focus for us now needs to be at completing the product. We need to fly by the end of 2012 and deliver the first aircraft by the end of 2013. And this is a big task. These are complex products.
Who's buying them?
Airlines from across the world. We have 11 different customers. The first customer was Lufthansa, very prominent German airline. We have customers in the Middle East. We have customers in Asia, like Korean airline. We have American customers. So really our goal is to be very global with this product.
Qatar Airways put their order on hold for a while. How come?
Well, Qatar Airways is evaluating its priorities. They have a lot of work to do with other airplanes, wide body, that they bought, and they want to complete this before they make a decision on an airplane like the C-Series. They continue to express that they're very interested in the product, and the customer needs to decide when they want to buy. At this point, Qatar is buying a lot of our corporate airplanes. And I think that's very good for us because we're developing a premium corporate airplane lease company or chartering company in Qatar.
I know you're a $20 billion company, but Boeing is pretty big as well, and Airbus is pretty big as well. And I mean, what's that like going up against those two enormous, significant international corporations?
Well, first of all, we think with our new C-Series, we're the world leader in regional aircraft. C-Series, we're getting into mainline. So we're getting a little bit in the territory of Airbus and Boeing, but we're creating an airplane in a niche where they don't offer a product, or if they do, they don't have a competitive product. And you know, in the end, whatever you do to innovate and push forward, you're always going to disturb some other company. And competition, as far as I'm concerned, is fun as far as we're making better products.
Have you and the CEO for Boeing gone out for coffee or something like that and discussed your plans, and how did he react to them?
Well, we know each other well. I know also the CEO of Airbus. Of course, they'd prefer that we do not enter this niche, but it's not their decision.
How important are these planes to your bottom line?
Well, it represents a great opportunity for growth. The C-Series is going to add between 5 and 8 billion of sales to Bombardier, the C-Series alone. We're working on a new Lear 85. That's close to $1 billion of business. We have a new global 7,000 and 8,000 that will be made here in Toronto, and that's a few $1 billion of business. So we're investing in growth, and that doesn't even talk about train, where we're investing in high-speed trains in China as an example.
How concerned are you that you're not going to make the deadline for delivery?
Well, I feel good that our schedule gives us a plane in 2013 that we're going to fly at the end of 2012. But there's a lot of risk in what we do. They're extremely complex product. Now, we have a lot of experience. We've done 30 new aircraft since 1989. No other companies can claim that. So I know the risk, but I also know that it's possible because we've done many aircraft on time. I look at the schedule of the C-Series today, and I feel good that we'll meet our milestone.
What's the one variable that keeps you up at night, that you worry about?
Well, unfortunately, with airplane design, if we talk about this product, there's not only one variable. It's really putting things together. And it's really what we don't know at this point that scares me, because I do know that designing a product that complex will encounter some challenges. But we have a good team, so we'll overcome those challenges.
And do you still make snowmobiles?
Yes, it's now a private business. We sold the recreational product division in 2003. Now my family invested with Bain Capital at buying it, so the answer is yes for me.
Bain Capital. You know Mitt Romney?
I've heard of the name, yes.
I thought you might have. Monsieur Beaudoin, a great pleasure to have you here in the studio. Thanks for coming in and visiting us at TVO tonight.
Great to be here.
Pierre Beaudoin, President, CEO, Bombardier.
Support Ontario's public television. Donate at tvo.org.